So this is how huge, how monumentally huge the potential of this conjunction is. February the 20th, 2026. Saturn conjuncts Neptune at 0 degrees Aries, the 0 point of the zodiac. This is something that is going far beyond February, something that is going to shape our entire lifetimes, a true once-in-a-lifetime occasion. This isn't just astrology, this is a global societal reset, and there's no way out of it anymore. We are living it right now. Stick around, and in this video I will explain what history reveals, what we can expect, and why this is actually a very hopeful time for us all. Let's talk about why Neptune meeting Saturn is such a big deal. First of all, so whenever there are two outer planets that conjunct, that meet up, that is something that is felt very, very deeply on a global scale. Outer planets affect us collectively as a society, and so the effects of them are felt collectively as well. Saturn is actually called a social planet. It is the furthest away planet that we can still see with the naked eye in the sky at night. And that just makes this conjunction even more powerful, because we have Neptune from afar affecting us globally and collectively, but Saturn brings it more down to the personal. But the key thing here isn't just that they meet up. This is something that happens. The key thing is that they meet up at 0 degrees Aries, the initiation point of the zodiac. This is so ripe and so full of potential, of rich, rich symbolism. You don't even have to understand astrology to understand that when two planets meet at the very, very, very beginning of the zodiac, that's so rich and full of meaning and symbolism. When two planets meet at the inception point of the zodiac, that's kind of a big deal. That's something that's calling out to pay attention to. And here's something that we usually do in astrology is we go back in time, we have a look at what happened in history when there was a major planetary movement, and we compare. We see if we can spot any patterns. This is literally how astrology has evolved over hundreds, if not thousands of years. Here's what makes this interesting. The last time that Saturn and Neptune conjuncted was in 1989. They actually conjuncted 3 times in the sign of Capricorn. And when you look at all of the events that led up to the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, they line up really, really closely with those 3 conjunctions. So 1989 was a year of massive change. The Berlin Wall falling opened up so many doors. It changed so many people's lives irreversibly. 2 years after that, the Soviet Union fell, a dominating world power that had had its grip over such a large part of the world just collapsed inwards. And that's what happened last time Saturn and Neptune met. Now, if we want to go back even further and we want to understand, okay, but when was the last time that they met at 0 degrees Aries, we have to go back to more than 3600 BC. The problem with 3600 BC is we don't have any written records of that time. We can't compare. But we think, at least that's the general consensus, that that's around the time when humanity began employing agriculture. Through agriculture came settlements. Written language was starting to be developed. All of the things that make our life as it is now started from that. We shifted from being hunter-gatherers to becoming settled civilizations. And all of the great things and all of the wars and conflicts that came along with that. But I would dare you to find a bigger, more significant shift in human history than going from hunter-gatherers, nomadic hunter-gatherers, to settled civilizations, to an agricultural civilization. And of course, there we are finding ruins that are dated even older than that. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, for example, which is something like 10,000 years old. And we don't really have an explanation of what happened around that time, why there were settlements there, if maybe agricultural society was a lot older than we thought. There's a lot of alternative theories about there being more advanced civilizations way further in the past than we gave credit for. I think that's a rabbit hole that pretty much everyone goes down at some point in their lives. But either way, even if there was more advanced civilizations before what we're giving official credit to, it's fair to say that whatever knowledge and abilities there was got lost somewhere in between. And then we kind of restarted again around that time of the last Saturn and Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees Aries. So this is how huge, how monumentally huge the potential of this conjunction is. But what we can deduce of the themes that we can expect to come up is that when these two planets meet, Neptune is going to bring out the more spiritual qualities of Saturn, and the other way around as well. And Saturn is actually quite a spiritual planet, but we don't really talk about it as such because it is also related to karma. And the way I like to imagine Saturn and the way that I feel it is that imagine that you are incarnating on Earth. Before incarnation, you have a plan, you've got certain lessons that you want to learn, you have certain experiences that you want to have for whatever reason your soul has. But the problem is you're going to forget everything as soon as you get incarnated. So if that was you, wouldn't you want to have some kind of safety rail? Something to prevent you from going totally off in a different direction than what you actually planned on doing? You would, wouldn't you? You'd have some kind of guardrail that kind of gently bumps you back into your lane, back into where you're supposed to be. And that's what Saturn does. Saturn bumps us back. It presents us with obstacles whenever we are veering too far off our determined course, too far off the course that is in our highest good for the long run. So when Neptune meets Saturn, that mechanism essentially is supercharged, is super boosted, and we all collectively get bumped off back into the road where we're supposed to go. When humanity, when society has veered too far off its course, when things are happening that are not supposed to be happening, those things get eliminated by Saturn. They just get shut out. And then the other way around, Saturn is able to put a container. Saturn is often called the limiter, the constrictor, because it can put a container around Neptunian energy. Neptune is all about dreams, about the subconscious, about symbolism, about things that are very difficult to kind of put a name to put into a box, to clearly define. Everything that's Neptunian is very difficult to define, which is why it's so difficult to talk about it, because there aren't really any proper words for it. But Saturn comes in and it puts limits, it puts restrictions on those concepts. And what that does is it makes them more real, it makes them more tangible. Like, how much easier is it to understand a concept when you have a word for it, rather than it just being this like general floaty idea that you can describe in 3 to 5 paragraphs if you're lucky. When you have one succinct word, it makes sense. Everyone knows what you're talking about. It can be a complex feeling, but when there's one word for it that everyone understands, you're all on the same page, and that makes it so much more real. And this is the opportunity that we have here as well, is Saturn meeting Neptune has the ability of making our dreams very, very real. Imagine how many people dreamed in 1989 of leaving East Germany, of leaving all of the countries that were being occupied by the Soviet Union. That was visions and ideals suddenly becoming reality for, if you look back in hindsight, really silly reasons almost. And that's why this is actually such good news in a year of so much chaos, so much disruption, so much shadow coming up for everybody in the world, this is actually such a hopeful sign, because if humanity is on a path that it's not supposed to be on, these two meeting are going to put it right, at least to an extent, and give us the opportunity to live out what we've been dreaming about. And of course, we have other planets to look at as well, because 2026 is just a year of enormous shifts. We have Pluto in Aquarius that moved into Aquarius now 2 years ago or so, which would indicate that the power for this transformation that's coming is coming from communities, is coming from the people, and could also be coming through technology and science. We also have Uranus moving into Gemini later on this year, moving into the sign of communication, of learning, teaching, and of information exchanges. So that could also contribute to the way that it's all playing out. Everyone's talking about just how exponentially rapid the advancement of AI is at the moment. Maybe this is the big reset and the big shift that we will see. Last time Neptune and Saturn conjuncted, a world power collapsed. Maybe another world power will collapse. Or maybe all of the world powers will collapse and something entirely different is going to emerge. It could be another technological or scientific breakthrough that takes us to somewhere we cannot even imagine yet. Think how good AI is now. Think into the future, not just necessarily of how AI is going to replace all our jobs, but think about the problems that we currently cannot solve, that something like a highly advanced AI can. Think of all the dots that we currently cannot put together that it will be able to, and the changes that is going to cause. It's hard to imagine at the moment, just like it would have been hard to imagine for those very first farmers thousands of years ago who were doing this novel, strange thing of putting seeds into the ground on purpose and then watering them and tilling the soil and keeping it free from weeds and other things and growing their own food. This was so revolutionary. I mean, imagine putting them into our world now and telling them, yep, this is all a direct consequence of what you were doing thousands of years ago. It would be mind-blowing. And that's exactly the same position that we are in now. So I think the way that this is going to unfold, because this goes way beyond February 20th. February 20th is only the start. And if you're asking me what to expect, there's this quote from Hemingway, which has been used a lot of the time, where he describes how he went bankrupt. But it applies perfectly to a lot of other situations, and particularly this one. And it was an answer to the question of how do you go bankrupt? And he said, gradually, then suddenly. And that's exactly what's happening right now. So it's exciting. It's only scary if you don't feel like you have any say over what's happening and you don't have any power over your world. So I just want to remind you that you do have the power to create the world that you want to live in. You do have the power to react to your circumstances, to choose how you want to experience this, because the shift is coming. There's no opting out now. I'm sorry, too late. But you still have the power and the choice of how you're going to experience it. Now, of course, there can be additional clues as to, well, how this is going to play out for all of us on an individual level. It depends on whether you have any placements around the 0 degrees Aries point or in the final degrees of Pisces or anything angular to that. It depends on what house Aries falls in your chart, your natal Saturn and Neptune placements. The houses that are ruled by your Saturn and Neptune all play a part in this. So unfortunately, we cannot possibly fit all of those possibilities into a video, but if you are interested to see at least the flavor of the times that are unfolding for you ahead, I invite you to book a one-to-one consultation with me where we can dive really deep into what you can expect from your own personal natal chart and what your soul might have chosen to experience during these very interesting times on Earth. And also, if you haven't yet, make sure that you subscribe to my free Manifestology newsletter. When the potential is this high, when there is so much potential for newness, this is the perfect time to be diving deep into your manifestation techniques. There is no better time than that. So make sure that you're subscribed to my newsletter. You will get free manifestation tips every other week. to go with the current astrology and to benefit you as much as possible given the timing. Thank you so much for watching till the end of this video. Make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss the next one, and I'll see you soon.